Hello everyone, I'm excited to start this new 8-week course on psychopathology with you. This first week we are discussing psychopathology and abnormality from a Christian or biblical perspective, as well as from a secular perspective. Please note that all sources cited in this video will be referenced appropriately as a reply to this discussion post. According to Kring and Johnson, 2021, psychopathology is the field concerned with the nature, development, and treatment of psychological disorders. And psychological disorders have three general characteristics: personal distress, violation of social norms, and disability and dysfunction. Psychopathology in the Christian worldview is similar. It's still the nature, development, and treatment of psychological disorders. However, instead of only considering environment, experiences, genetics, the Christian worldview includes spiritual influences such as truth, the Holy Spirit, and evil. In general, abnormality describes a feature of an organism that is different than what is standard in a given population, and this can be highly subjective. An example of an abnormality would be a friend that I have that actually has 6 toes on one foot, and most people have 5 toes, so this would be considered an abnormality, a physical abnormality. In the writings that describe the life of Christ, abnormalities in people garner much attention. Some abnormalities were a sign of being completely devoted to God, as in the case of John the Baptist, who lived in the wilderness. He ate locusts and wild honey, and he had clothes made of camel hair. And if you've ever touched a camel, their hair is extremely bristly, and that would be extremely uncomfortable. And that is described in Matthew chapter 3. Some abnormalities are a sign, or were in the writings in the Bible, were a sign of demon possession, such as described in Mark chapter 5. There was a man who was demon possessed, and he cut himself with stones. He lived among the tombs. He cried out, and he was so strong they couldn't keep him in. They tried to chain him up, and he wouldn't stay in chains. And this abnormality, this behavior was abnormal, and he actually had he was demon possessed. The demons were cast out of him into pigs, and sometimes abnormalities were attributed to sin. For example, when Jesus healed a man who had been blind from birth, both Jesus' disciples and the religious leaders of the day believed the man's blindness was due to sin, specifically the sin of either the man or his parents. But not only did Jesus heal the man physically, he spoke directly to the man's shame by saying the blindness was not from anyone's sin, but because God wanted to use the healing for his glory. That's found in John chapter 9, verses 1 through 34. Regarding the secular view of abnormality, according to American Psychological Association 2022, abnormality is, quote, any deviation from what is considered typical, usual, or healthy, particularly if the deviation is considered harmful or maladaptive, end quote. When applying this to psychology, abnormalities are behavioral, emotional, cognitive patterns that are clinically unusual or unhealthy. As clinical mental health counselors, recognizing abnormalities is an important step in diagnosis and treatment planning. However, Schweitzer and Rubin, 2015, indicate that other factors should also be considered, which may contribute or exacerbate mental disorders, such as a client's general medical condition or specific medical condition, and psychosocial or environmental issues. I hope you're having a good first week, and I'm looking forward to hearing your perspectives on psychopathology and the Christian worldview.